Did you hear about the doctor's office drama that exposed how nearly 40% of domestic violence victims feel trapped by their abuser's connection to law enforcement? Today's story shows exactly why that statistic matters.
Those kinds of systemic barriers can be devastating. What happened in this case?
Well, it started when a doctor asked a patient's husband to step out of the exam room. The moment he left, this woman, Cindy, just broke down, begging the doctor to lie to her husband about being pregnant because she thought she couldn't conceive.
And I'm guessing there's more to why she was so desperate for this lie?
Oh yeah, she literally said, if he finds out I can't have kids, it's over for me. The fear in those words tells you everything about what she was dealing with at home. And here's where it gets complicated. Her husband was a police officer.
That adds a whole other layer of power dynamics to an already difficult situation.
Exactly. When the doctor suggested calling the authorities, Cindy shut that down immediately. She knew his fellow officers would cover for him, which sadly, studies show happens in up to 64% of reported cases involving law enforcement families.
You know what's striking about this? The way institutional protection can actually enable abuse. How did the doctor handle such a delicate situation?
Well, throughout this entire conversation, the doctor was trying to tell Cindy something crucial, but she was so consumed by panic that she couldn't even hear it. She just kept pleading for the doctor to lie about the pregnancy.
So what was the doctor trying to say?
Here's the incredible twist: Cindy was actually pregnant. All that fear and desperation about not being able to conceive, and she was carrying the very thing she thought impossible. When the doctor finally broke through with, "You're having a baby," it was like watching someone's whole world shift in an instant.
That must have been such an overwhelming moment, both wonderful and terrifying at once.
Right? And you know what's fascinating about this? Recent studies show that pregnancy can be both a catalyst for escape from domestic violence and a period of increased vulnerability. About 28% of women report their abuse either started or intensified during pregnancy.
Those statistics really highlight how complicated these situations can be. What options would someone like Cindy have?
Well, domestic violence advocates have found that pregnancy often provides more opportunities for intervention because of increased medical oversight. But when the abuser is in law enforcement, it creates this perfect storm of barriers. Like, where do you go when the people who should protect you are aligned with your abuser?
That's such a crucial point about systemic barriers to getting help.
And you know what makes this story particularly relevant? It highlights how healthcare providers often become the first line of defense. They're sometimes the only professionals who get to see these women alone, away from their abusers.
The way this doctor created that safe space seems so important to how everything unfolded.
Absolutely right. And here's something that really stays with me: Cindy's response when she finally heard the news. Just 2 words: my baby. In those words, you can hear both joy and fear, hope and uncertainty. It's like everything about her situation was contained in that moment.
Do we know what typically happens in cases like this?
Well, research shows that about 40% of domestic violence survivors say pregnancy became their motivation to seek help. But for women with abusive partners in law enforcement, that number drops to just 15%. It really shows how these institutional connections create additional barriers.
Those numbers really put Cindy's situation into perspective.
You know what I keep coming back to? How this story represents so many intersecting issues: healthcare, domestic violence, institutional power, and the way hope can appear in the most unexpected moments. It's like watching all these different threads weave together into this intense human moment in a doctor's office.
And it really makes you think about how many similar stories are playing out in examination rooms across the country right now.
That's exactly right. And maybe that's why this story matters so much, because it shows us how these big systemic issues play out in real people's lives. One examination room